Okay, so we're going to start work with percentages. So there's a couple of videos to watch on this. The first one's on tax. So I'm sure you've all heard of tax before. You have the definition right here to copy down. A tax is a percentage of a purchase that is added to the purchase, and that money gets paid to the government. So when you buy food, when you buy clothes, anything like that, you go and you buy stuff, you pay the price of it, and then there's tax added on. There's an amount of money added to that. And that money gets paid to the government. It might go to the county, it might go to the state, but we add that on. So how do we figure out how much we're actually paying for that? How do we figure out how much the tax is? It's actually pretty easy, okay? So here's an example. You buy a shirt for $32 and you have to pay 8% tax. How much is the tax and what is the final cost of the shirt? Well, when they say we're paying 8% tax, then what we're trying to find is 8% of that $32. Okay? And so, if you remember back when we were writing expressions and writing equations, that word of told us that what we needed to do was multiply. Of always means multiply. So, what you're going to find is almost always with your percentages, when you're doing these problems, you're going to end up multiplying because you're trying to find a percent of a number in a lot of different situations. And so, anytime you have that of, it's multiply. So, that's all we have to do. We have to do 8% times 32. Now, the one thing that you have to be careful of is that 8%, in order for us to be able to multiply with that, we have to change it to a decimal. So to change a percent to a decimal, make sure you're writing this down. To change a percent to a decimal, move the decimal two places to the left. So when I have 8%, the decimal is after the 8. Anytime I have a whole number, the decimal's at the end. So then I would move that decimal two places to the left. It'd go from here, it'd go around the 8, and it'd go another place. And since there's nothing there, I'm going to have to put a 0 there. So 8% is 0.08. And that's it. So I'm going to change that first to 0.08. And then I'll multiply that by 32. So remember, when I'm multiplying with a decimal, I multiply like normal. Say 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. Plus 1 is 25. And then remember, to figure out where the decimal goes, what I have to do is multiply, or I'm sorry, count up the number of decimal places in the two numbers I multiplied together. So there's no decimal places in the 32. There's 2 in 0.08. So my answer needs to have two decimal places. So I'm going to make this 2.56. Now, I also need to remember this is an amount of money. So what I just did is just found that the tax equals $2.56. Okay? You just multiply the percentage by the price, change percent to a decimal. When you multiply, that answer is your tax in money. Now, this question also asked me to find the final cost of the shirt. So to do that, I'm just going to say, well, it was $32, and then I know the tax is 256. I'm going to add those together. $32 and 256 is going to give me 34.56. So this is the final cost, okay, the final amount that I'm going to pay. And that's it. You just find the tax and then add it on. Now, here's another example, and I will show you there is a shortcut to this. If you buy a pair of jeans for $45 and pay 7% tax, what's the final price? Now, this one, they don't they didn't ask me to find just what the amount of tax was like they did in the last question. They just want the final price. There's actually a shortcut I can take. I can do $45 and 7% as a decimal would be 0.07 after I move the decimal 2 places. So what I can do is multiply 45 times 1.07. Multiplying 45 times 1, that just gives me the original price. Multiplying 45 times 0.07 is giving me the amount of tax. If I put those together, that gives me the price plus the tax. And that's it. So if I just need the final price, I can do this. I can take my percent as a decimal and just put a 1 in front and multiply. So 45 times 1.07. Again, just multiply like normal. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 4 is 28. Plus 3 is 31. Move over a spot. These are all going to be zeros. Move over 2 spots, and then you get a 5 and a 4. Add all this together. I have 5, 1, 8, 4. Again, I come up here. There is a total of 2 decimal places, none in the first number, 2 in the second. So my answer should have 2 numbers after the decimal. So my final cost would be $48.15. That's it. So you certainly could still do 45 times 0.07. And when you do that, you should get $3.15. And then you could add that on. Or you can just do 45 times 1.07 and get that answer. Either way. If you just need the tax, you have to multiply by 0.07. If you just need the final cost, you can do 1.07. And that's it.